everyone and welcome to another Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 theory video. And as you can more than likely tell from the title of today's theory video, you know we're going to be talking about the possibility of Huggy Wuggy still being alive and have some kind of presence in Chapter 2. So let this be your spoiler warning for Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. And with that being said, if you enjoy this type of content, make sure you hit subscribe as it really helps the channel and supports me a whole bunch. But speaking of support, there's also another way to support me by using the referral link in the description below, which takes you to the Poppy Playtime merch store. And once you choose an item that you want to purchase, make sure to use code IT'sJustJord for 10% off your whole order. But anyway, shameless self-promotion out of the way, let's get into this theory video. So, let's refresh our memory when we last encountered Huggy Wuggy and what happened to him. So of course the first time we saw Huggy Wuggy was when he was stood tall and strong and cuddly on the podium, but the next time after that in particular is when we get the jump scare from him, which was probably one of my favourite jump scares in a long time. I don't think a lot of people expected Huggy to appear in that section of Chapter 1, as in this moment we had that sense of security, well, false security. After this scare, we get chased by Huggy Wuggy, which results to us, the player, being chased through a series of vents and getting into some close calls, and most of the time, if you're me, getting caught. But as we leave the vents and walk across the platform where a box hangs above us, Huggy is banging on the shutter door, and in this time we pull the box down, and as we let go and the box falls, Huggy Wuggy bursts through the vent shutter door and proceeds to attack us. But luckily for us, he doesn't make it. The box collides with the platform, knocking the player and Huggy to the platform below. Luckily for the player, we fall safely onto the platform, but not so much for Huggy, as he lands on the rails in a position that renders him immobile for a moment or two, and he slides off to fall further and hits his head on a numerous amounts of pipes below, leaving blood behind. He does this for a total of 3 times altogether, and each of these impacts looks just as painful as the last. But Huggy remains emotionless as he descends further into the unknown and into the fog. Now, I did talk about more of this in detail in an older video where I asked the question, would Huggy survive? And if you're interested, go check out that video, I'll leave a link in the description. It's safe to say we actually did quite a good coverage on that video alone, but we're back with this one. So, with that, we would assume that Huggy was done. He's gone, and we won't be seeing him anytime soon. So, thanks to the glorious release of Chapter 2, there are a few bits of evidence that have come to life, and this helps our theory about Huggy surviving. But there are 2 main pieces of evidence I want to talk about today, and the first one, of course, being the fur on the pipes. And what I mean by this is, if you remember rightly, after you find the water treatment area, your task is to collect a toy from the room marked as C2. And this is also where the cardboard cutout of Cappy resides. And the toys inside that room have to move through a set of conveyor belts. And our task in this instance is to set up the conveyor belts in such a way that we receive one of the toys to use as a key. But when doing this, a lot of us didn't really realise that there was actually a very interesting part of this room that indicates the possibility of Huggy Wuggy still being around, or in some sense, alive. This is because the room is littered in a certain section with blue fur that has some parts covered in blood. But not only that, there are indicators of whatever this creature is climbing away from the area, as we can also see the blood and fur lead to a hole in the wall. The hole looks to be some sort of empty extra conveyor belt system. And if we are going to go with the theory that it is Huggy Wuggy, it's very fitting knowing that in his previous experience chasing the player, he gets through some small spaces and small vents. So you could be forgiven for thinking that it fits like a glove. So what does this actually mean? Could it be Huggy Wuggy? Could it be someone else? So I have a few ideas that I do want to talk about. So of course, the first idea is the most prominent within the community, and it is, of course, could it be Huggy Wuggy? As we know, Huggy fell in Chapter 1 to where we don't know, as the floor below was covered in thick fog so that we couldn't see the bottom. It could be theorised that Huggy Wuggy fell from Chapter 1 all the way down into C2, the area. With that in mind, he managed to gain the strength to climb himself back up into the hole in the wall, leaving a trail of pain behind as we see in his fur and blood. But did he know where he was going? Who knows? More than likely though, he is on his way to take revenge on the meal that he was hunting, which was us, the player. But I have a few issues with this idea, and the main one being where he fell. Now, the room in Chapter 1 where Huggy fell was rather large in comparison with the Chapter 2 room where we see the evidence of Huggy Wuggy's blood. So it's safe to assume that the sizes of the room kind of have to remain consistent in some sense, and the fact that we're going from such a large room in Chapter 1 to such a small room in Chapter 2 does not sit well with me. But I do have a counterpoint to make here, not totally ridding off the idea that it is Huggy Wuggy. I'm just going to rid the idea that Huggy Wuggy fell in that room in particular. I think there's a little more to it than that. So my theory is a little more imaginative, or should I say innovative. Now, while I might not be 100% with Huggy falling down into this part of the factory, I can get on board with another theory that I have, and this is the one I'm going to talk about now. The first thing I do want to point out with this theory is the name of the location, water treatment. Why do I want to highlight this point? Well, it's because I believe we're looking at something far more important in the grand context of things. I don't think we should overlook the water treatment area as just nothing. I do theorize that this area holds a lot more information than we first give it credit for. I believe that this is the area of one of the features of Elliot Ludwig's work. I think the water treatment area is the place where the scientists do a lot of their work, as I believe and theorize that this area has to do with the poppy extraction. And I theorize that the name water treatment is just a cover-up. I think the water treatment area could well be the place where they in fact create these toys and bring them to life using a combination of ingredients, and of course the holy grail, the poppy extract. To add to this, I do think it's a little coincidental that they have a medical bay not too far from this site too. Oh, the medical bay is actually quite interesting. I will be talking about that again in another video. So again, if you're interested, make sure you hit subscribe with the bell. Anyway, and the other thing is the fact that it leads straight to the game station through just one door as well makes me believe that they get created and tested straight away. I think a good indication of this is the name itself, treatment. As we know, the definition of treatment is care given to a patient for an illness or injury. So, with that in mind, let me propose another theory. Perhaps something or someone found Huggy Wuggy and took him to the water treatment area to bathe in the components to repair the damage. And what if we theorize that it was experiment 1007, but knowing how obedient Huggy Wuggy is, decided that he would be more useful as a foot soldier or a helper or a pet, rather than consuming him, destroying him, and using him for his own gain. We know that experiment 1007 is very intelligent, and he would be more than aware of the water treatment area's capabilities. What if experiment 1007, like we saw with Mummy Longlegs, took Huggy to the water treatment area, let him regenerate, once complete, he set Huggy out on a mission, or choose to let him go, but making sure to point out the way, perhaps influencing Huggy's next decisions and target. After soaking in the poppy extract for so long, it's protected Huggy Wuggy's body and skin while he was in the water, but once exposed again to the air, it began to heal, and as it was doing that at the same time, his fur began to bleed and peel away a little bit. And this could explain why we gradually get to see the blood and fur in the area, rather than just seeing it all over the place straight out of the water. I think it's safe to say that we're probably going to see Huggy Wuggy again, but not only that, we're going to see a very worrying variation, I think, of Huggy Wuggy, or he might just be restored to the pristine condition of what he was originally. But while we don't know for sure what the fur could be, I do think this is a very strong indication of what happened to Huggy Wuggy, and again, what is to come in the return of Huggy Wuggy. The only real thing that could be put against this idea in theory is the fact that there might be other toys with blue fur, for example PJ, but we know that PJ is safe and sound after we completed the maze, so we didn't see him again. But I think this would be more alluding to the result of Huggy and what happened to Huggy. But I think it would be really interesting to hear what you think in the comments below. What ideas do you have about the water treatment area and the fate of Huggy Wuggy? But remember everyone, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like and go ahead and subscribe, as it really again supports me in the channel and really helps us grow, and I appreciate it massively. But with that being said, I wish you the best morning, day or night wherever you are in the world. Stay safe and I'll see you all in the next Theory video.